oh, well, no, the Texans are not upper echelon yet because they beat, a wounded Buffalo team. I'm on the other side of it. I do think that the Houston Texans are an upper echelon team in the NFL.
Ooh, what up, H-Town? Hey, how we doing?
He's Blank. I'm Branham. It is Brian behind the glass, and it is a Monday edition of the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5. It is a Victory Monday, another Victory Monday. These Texans, man, they don't lose. 4-1, they're 3-0 at home. The Texans just continuing to roll, Blankers.
I love it. I'm surprised that more people in Houston aren't happy about it, I would say. But I love the fact that this team is sitting 4-1 after 5 games. And I actually love the fact that they aren't playing perfect football across the board, because if you still have more improvements to make, it means you can still get better, yet you're still sitting at a 4-1 record. And I think that says something about this team.
I was thinking, everybody's talking about how, the Texans still haven't played their best. They still haven't played their perfect game, all of that. How often in the NFL do you play a perfect game? How often? How many times a year does it happen where from kickoff to the final horn, you're like, that was perfection. That was Texans football. That's what we're all about. That's one where he didn't make a single mistake that was perfection. How many times does that happen over the course of the season?
I don't think it happens for an entire game.
Once,
sure.
Twice for
maybe
the Texans
twice.
last year?
Yeah. I mean, not like, you're going to make mistakes even in a perfect game.
Sure.
But in terms of the perception of whenever you leave a game and you win by 20, you're like, that's Texans football. That's the Texans playing up to their potential. That's what we expect to see. How many times does that actually happen over the course of a full NFL regular season?
Maybe,
a couple times.
Yeah, maybe.
Like the Browns playoff game, we would say that.
I was going to say 1 or 2.
I was going to say 3 or 4.
Okay, so somewhere in that range of 1 to 4 times. And it probably depends on the team. You're certainly not saying if you're the Carolina Panthers almost ever. And if you're a really good team, maybe you have really lofty expectations. Like the Chiefs last year won the Super Bowl. They had the second best defense in the NFL. Their offense didn't live up to expectations. Do you think Kansas City one time last year said, oh, yeah, we played a perfect game?
No,
Probably
because remember,
not.
most of the first half of the season, they were struggling, and there was fingers being pointed all over the place about them being far less than what people had rated them. I think the opponent matters, too. I think a lot of times people are going to be highly critical when you play a lesser-than team, no matter how you play. And even if you play well, you're supposed to do that because they're not very good. But then you beat a team like Buffalo and say, yeah, and there's a lot, but Buffalo is a damn good football team, and we saw early in the season how everybody was changing their tune and thinking the Bills were one of those teams that was still going to compete for a Super Bowl. Now you beat the Bills, and they're like, yeah, but, they lost the Ravens last week, and they got guys out. Everybody does.
Not for me, though. I don't and they did. I mean, I think Shakir's their best receiver, and they lacked some punch in the receiver room yesterday. I saw a bunch of people, well, this is why the Buffalo Bills needed Stephon Diggs. Come on. I don't think that yesterday's issue was that they didn't have an upper echelon receiver. I think it was that Josh Allen wasn't very good, and there's a reason that he wasn't very good. They were without Ed Oliver, who might be their best defensive player. Go Cougs. And I don't say that as a homer. He might be their best defensive player. So, yes, they missed some people, but the Texans were without some people, too. And, it's the NFL. So, I'm not making the excuses of, oh, well, no, the Texans are not upper echelon yet because they beat, a wounded Buffalo team. I'm on the other side of it. I do think that the Houston Texans are an upper echelon team in the NFL. Do I think that they're on par with the Chiefs? No. Do I think they're on par with the Baltimore Ravens? No. But do I think they're a top 5 team in the NFL, what I would consider upper echelon? I do, and I didn't feel that way before yesterday's game. But you beat Buffalo. Yes, a wounded Buffalo, but you're wounded too. In my opinion, the Texans are officially, in my opinion, and it doesn't even really matter. This isn't tangible. You're not going to the postseason and be like, well, in everybody's opinion, we're upper echelon, so we must win. It's why you play the games. But in my opinion, and I think that it should be in everybody's opinion, that the Texans did prove yesterday that they do belong in the upper echelon of the NFL.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think part of that is also because of the fact that as much as we didn't know what we didn't know about the Texans, and we're still finding that out based on everything that they did in the offseason, You didn't know what you didn't know about a lot of other football teams, too, where we thought the San Francisco 49ers and I thought the Philadelphia Eagles were going to be the cream of the crop in the NFC. I didn't pencil the Vikings into my scorecard as being the best team in the NFC and the best team in their division and a playoff team based on what I saw and who was playing quarterback. So I think that they've slid down the chart quite a ways for me until they prove otherwise. And the Texans, because of the fact that even when they've played poorly, they found a way to win. And when it really matters, they've constructed drives and gotten key points to where I think that they are in that top handful of teams in the NFL, regardless of if they peaked or not and what the other circumstances may be.
That was my biggest takeaway from the game yesterday, is that the Texans do belong. Whether you think that they were close to perfection, whether you think that they beat a wounded Buffalo team, in my opinion, they proved that they belong in the upper echelon of the NFL. What they did to Josh Allen yesterday, how many teams do that? And yes, I'm not the biggest Josh Allen guy, but Josh Allen puts up numbers. Josh Allen wins a bunch of games. Josh Allen can single-handedly beat teams. Josh Allen will have 300 total yards on you like it's nobody's business. And the Houston Texans did to Josh Allen, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, something that hasn't been done in modern NFL history. So, yes, tip your cap to the Houston Texans defense. Tip your cap to DeMeco Ryans. There was a lot of bad that happened in yesterday's game, and I think that happens over the course of every NFL game, and we'll get to that because we do not ignore in victory what you wouldn't in defeat. We couldn't miss the opportunity to bang on the Texans. But they prove that they belong in the conversation with some of the best teams in the NFL. Are they the best team? No. Are they a top 2 team in the AFC? I'm not there right now. But in my opinion, they are upper echelon in the NFL, and they proved it because they beat Buffalo yesterday.
Here's the other thing, too, Jeremy. When we talk about the 3 phases of the game, you don't have to be perfect for the entire game, but you got to be close to it when it matters, with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, or when you need a score before the end of the half or the end of a football game. And what we've seen so far this year is when you give the Texans an opportunity to win with some time on the clock, they execute. When you think about, what went wrong for the Buffalo Bills, and you're right. What they did to Josh Allen, they drove him nuts all day long. This was the leading candidate in all of the NFL for MVP after 4 games of the regular season, and you had him spinning around trying to figure out what he could and couldn't do to try and gain some kind of yardage. When you look at the special teams and the fact that your punter pinned them inside the 5 when he absolutely had to, your defense did their job, and then with minimal time on the clock, they once again proved they can get you where you need to go to get points when you absolutely have to have them and can't afford a mistake. Those are the kind of things that say, well, you don't have to be perfect in all 3 phases for the entire game, but when it matters, especially when you're down, and we've seen it in multiple games this year, they do what they need to do.
I think part of it's the C.J. Stroud effect a bit, but you can make the case that yesterday in the final minute of the game, Stroud didn't have to do a whole lot. And you could point the finger at Stroud a little bit on that intentional grounding. Now, I don't really put that on Stroud. That was an awful play call. We'll get into that. And do not ignore in victory what you wouldn't in defeat. But, yes, they've won close games. Now, some people will look at that the other way and be like, well, they're winning a lot of close games. They got blown out in the game that they lost. Maybe this is a lucky team. I don't know if I would go that far because the Texans have proven even last year that they're winning those close games. I think that it has something to do with C.J. Stroud. I think it has something to do with the mentality of the Texans that they can close out the good games or the winning games, the close games. And you brought up an interesting point. All of those areas, the Texans had to be really good in the final minute in 3 areas after the intentional grounding. Tommy Townsend pinned the Bills back at the 3, and Townsend wasn't great yesterday prior to that, and Townsend really hasn't been all that good this year. But Townsend, a Texan, when they needed him, pinned the Bills at the 3-yard line. The defense was really good all day yesterday, but they forced a 3 and out. Josh Allen was throwing deep against the Texans on 1st and 2nd down. The Texans were up for it. A couple of incompletions, 3 incompletions, they get the football back. Robert Woods, who I thought was mostly good, he had a couple of questionable decisions in punt return, like trying to catch the ball inside the 5-yard line, not once, but twice. An amazing return. And he understood the moment, too. Catches the ball, beeline right up the middle of the field, not dancing, isn't going laterally, makes the catch, gets it up the field as quickly as possible. And the offensive play wasn't much, but the presence of mind that I need to be quick, we have to get a few yards here, take the quick timeout, and then Ka'imi Fairbairn was able to knock in the game winner. So, those areas, especially Townsend, especially Woods, and then the offense, which was sputtering in the entire second half, they were not good in the second half or the entire game yesterday at times. Yet in that final minute, all three of those phases came up huge.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing, too. Even the offensive play call at the time, it had several different options, but they were all focused on one, get the yards, but also we had one timeout in our back pocket. We have to use it. We have to get down quickly, no matter where it is. So he had the options. The middle of the field opened up. You get it, you catch it, you get down, you call the timeout, you manage the clock correctly. You had the timeout you needed. You're punting, you're kicking, your defense, everything fell into play when you absolutely had to have it. And it's not the first time we've seen it all year. We've seen it at the end of the first half several times. More importantly, we saw it in the Jacksonville game. We saw it when you need to do it at the end of football games too. And you're right. That factors into the C.J. Stroud effect, which is, yeah, he made a bad throw. And, yeah, we can talk about some of the throws that weren't perfect or things that, maybe they did get a little lucky on. But overall, when you got to have a guy at the helm that is in complete control, that can control his emotions, that knows where the ball needs to go, more times than not, he's shown you he's that guy.
Yeah, he's got the clutch gene. Like, he has the it factor. People kind of don't love hearing that. I think most people like hearing it. You have a vocal minority that, like, oh, you're overrating him. I don't think so. Like turn on the film. C.J. Stroud's doing some incredible things on the football field. Even in the second half, in which he had 2 turnovers and the offense was sputtering and the offense had trouble scoring. Like, he is creating and making plays out of nothing. The guy's good. The guy's really good. What'd you make of the Bills' decision 32 seconds after Tommy Townsend pinned him down at the 3-yard line? A lot of people are losing their minds about Sean McDermott's decision there.
Yeah, he's even owning it, but I think, at that point in the game, that's a tough situation because I guess you believe when you have Josh Allen, too, that you're going to try and get it down into field goal range. But when it doesn't go your way right away, I think your primary thing is, I'm on the road. I'll take a chance at overtime rather than making a mistake on, pinned back against my own goal line. And I thought that they would run some clock. I thought that they would end up trying a running play. I thought they would challenge the Texans to start burning some timeouts, but they didn't. I was extremely amazed at how much time didn't run off the clock. Mm-hmm. And even still, I was like, well, do they have enough time? And you mentioned Woods. Woods made a hell of a play just to keep time on the clock enough to get the one, quick down on a play and get it down in time to save a second or two.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was a little surprised in the way they called the final 3 plays.
I think that he's getting too much blame for that. And I ran a social experiment on Twitter today, and I put the scenario, same exact scenario. Do you trust C.J. Stroud in this moment? And 75% were like, yeah, let C.J. Stroud try to score in that spot. I probably do. Like, I probably let C.J. Stroud in that same moment see what I got. Now, I don't love the pass call on first down. I probably run it first down, kind of a heat check or a very high percentage passing play, maybe a screen, although that's a little problematic, so close to the end zone. I probably run a heat check play there and then see where I'm at after first down.
Pad yourself to prevent the safety.
Yeah.
And then see if I get some good positive yards, now I can do something.
Plus, I also like the idea of kind of deceiving the defense where it's like, okay, we're going to run the ball here on first down. Maybe we get 3 or 4 yards, and then the defense is like, they're probably going to take a timeout. D'Amico's going to take a timeout in that spot. Okay, they think we're running the ball. All of a sudden, you're passing out of a run look, or you're even running a little play action. I don't mind McDermott and the Bills being aggressive with a top 5 quarterback because – look, if the game goes to overtime, you might be at the mercy of a coin. If C.J. Stroud was in that same spot, I want the Texans to be aggressive there and try to get into Kaimi Fairbairn field goal range. So I thought McDermott's taking too much heat for that. I don't love the play call on first down the most. I thought the defensive play by the Buffalo Bills and the final offensive play for the Texans after they got the ball back after the Woods punt return just ahead of the Kaimi Fairbairn field goal, what were they doing? Like, they dropped 11 men.
They
dropped 11 men.
2 safeties way back.
They're like, here you go. Here's an automatic 5 yards, and then we're going to take the timeout. I thought that was the bigger crime than being aggressive on the offensive end. If you had C.J. Stroud, same exact situation. You're a tie game, 32 seconds. You're at the 3-yard line. What are you doing if you're the Texans? If you have C.J. Stroud,
I'm taking my chances. I'm living and dying with C.J. Stroud because, like we just got done talking about, he's shown with just about that much time on the clock, and you got a guy with a hell of a leg as a kicker too. That's a weapon. That if you just get a little bit past midfield, you have a chance. So you have the opportunity, and as long as the plays open up for you, a play here, play there, then you need to do that because of the fact that you have a guy that's capable of moving it down the field quickly.
Yeah, if I'm a Bills fan today, I'm not mad that they're like, here you go, Josh Allen, go win us a football game. It's Josh Allen. Like, if you have a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL, isn't that what you're supposed to be doing with a top 3, top 5 quarterback? If I'm a Bills fan, I'm irritated with the final defensive play call. And what I'm really irritated about Why don't they feed James Cook more? Like, it was obvious that D'Amico Ryan's game plan, we're not going to let Josh Allen beat us. James Cook was, pardon the pun, cooking against the Houston Texans defense. If you give him the rock 25 times, I think the outcome's probably different.
Yeah, that's
probably different.
My biggest takeaway, anti-Texans, right from the jump, was the fact that we knew going in that Derrick Henry, they had a hard time stopping Derrick Henry in the run. What I saw right from the jump was they had a hard time stopping anybody that runs the football on the other team. And that Cook, even in that short pass game, look, they were, third and 12, 15, 17, 18 yards, screen pass to Cook, and he gets all of it and then some, to where you're like, man, they can't stop him and they can't stop the run. That's going to be a problem.
All right, 713-780-ESPN. Busy show today. Don't ignore in victory what you wouldn't in defeat. I believe. What do you believe after the college football weekend? Mailbag Monday. We'll get to game balls today as well now that baseball season is over. 713-780-ESPN. We'll get your thoughts on yesterday's win. 713-780-3776. We're on the Twitch, twitch.tv/ESPN975. We're on the YouTube at ESPN Houston. We're on the Twitter X. Blankers at Pac-Man Joel. Brian's at Sacked by BMAC. I'm at Jeremy Branham. We are the Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.